A few years ago, I found myself staring at a complete stranger in a grocery store, convinced I knew exactly what kind of person he was. 30 seconds later, he did something that shattered that assumption, and sent me down a rabbit hole of psychological theories so strange, I almost laughed at them. The strange part is that the more I paid attention, the more they seemed to explain everyday life. I used to think psychology was mostly about therapy, mental health, or academic research. Interesting, sure, but distant from normal life. At the time, my days were predictable. I worked in an office, followed routines, and interacted with the same people almost every week. Like most people, I believed I was fairly good at reading others. I thought I could tell who was trustworthy, who was confident, who was selfish, who was kind. Not perfectly, of course, but reasonably well. At least, that's what I told myself. One evening after work, I stopped at a grocery store. While standing in line, I noticed a man in front of me. He looked impatient. He kept checking his watch. His shopping cart was nearly empty. For some reason, I immediately formed a story about him. I assumed he was rude. Maybe self-centered. Definitely in a hurry. I don't know why I thought that. Nothing dramatic had happened. It was just a feeling. Then something unexpected happened. An elderly woman behind us accidentally dropped several items onto the floor. Before anyone else reacted, the man I had silently judged immediately stepped forward and helped her pick everything up. He smiled. Asked if she was okay. Then waited while she reorganized her groceries. The impatience I thought I saw suddenly looked completely different. As I drove home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why had I been so certain about someone I knew nothing about? That question introduced me to one of the strangest psychological ideas I'd ever encountered. It's called the fundamental attribution error. The theory sounds simple. When other people make mistakes or behave in certain ways, we tend to assume it's because of who they are. When we make mistakes, we blame the situation. If someone cuts us off in traffic, they're reckless. If we cut someone off, we're late for work. If someone seems distant, they're unfriendly. If we seem distant, we're tired. The more I noticed it, the more I saw it everywhere. Not just in strangers. In friends. Coworkers. Family. Even myself. It was uncomfortable realizing how often I confused behavior with character. And that was only the beginning. A few months later, another strange theory found its way into my life. At work, a new employee joined our team. On his first day, he was confident, articulate, and funny. Everyone seemed to like him instantly. Including me. A few weeks later, I noticed something odd. Whenever he made mistakes, people overlooked them. Whenever he offered suggestions, they were treated as valuable. Meanwhile, another employee, equally capable but quieter, received far less attention. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then I remembered something psychologists call the halo effect. The idea is strange because it suggests that one positive trait can influence how we perceive everything else about a person. If someone appears attractive, confident, successful, or charismatic, our brains often assume other positive qualities are present too. Intelligence. Competence. Trustworthiness. Even when we have little evidence. The theory sounded ridiculous when I first heard it. Yet once I recognized it, I couldn't unsee it. It explained celebrity culture. Job interviews. Social media. First impressions. It even explained many of my own decisions. I realized I wasn't evaluating people as objectively as I imagined. I was often responding to an overall feeling. And feelings can be surprisingly persuasive. Around that time, I started paying more attention to my own thinking. That's when I encountered perhaps the strangest theory yet. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. The name sounds complicated, but the experience is familiar. You learn a new word. Suddenly, you hear it everywhere. You notice a certain type of car. Now they're all over the road. You hear about a psychological theory. Then examples seem to appear constantly. At first, it feels almost supernatural. Like the world has changed overnight. But according to psychology, what's actually changing is your attention. Your brain begins noticing things that were always there. I tested this myself. One week, I became interested in body language. Suddenly, I noticed crossed arms during meetings. Subtle facial expressions. Moments of discomfort. Patterns I'd ignored for years. The experience taught me something unexpected. Reality isn't just what exists. It's also what we notice. And what we notice is heavily influenced by what we're already thinking about. That realization stayed with me. Because it suggested something unsettling. What if many of my beliefs weren't shaping reality? What if they were shaping what I paid attention to? That question led me to another theory. One that changed how I viewed arguments and disagreements. Confirmation bias. The concept is surprisingly simple. People naturally seek information that supports what they already believe. We notice evidence that agrees with us. We overlook evidence that doesn't. The strange part isn't that it happens. The strange part is how invisible it feels. I remember discussing a controversial topic with a friend. Both of us believed we were being rational. Both of us had facts. Both of us had examples. Yet somehow we reached completely different conclusions. Afterward, I realized something uncomfortable. Neither of us had been searching for truth. We'd been searching for confirmation. Not intentionally. Just naturally. That realization made me more cautious. Not about other people. About myself. Because if confirmation bias affects everyone, then confidence isn't always evidence of accuracy. Sometimes it's evidence that we've only been listening to one side. And then came the theory that affected me most. The spotlight effect. According to psychologists, we dramatically overestimate how much other people notice us. Our mistakes. Our awkward moments. Our embarrassing comments. Years ago, I gave a presentation that didn't go well. I stumbled over several points. Lost my train of thought. Left feeling embarrassed. For days, I replayed every mistake. Then I spoke with a coworker who had attended. He barely remembered any of it. In fact, he mostly remembered the main idea. Nothing else. That conversation stayed with me because it revealed something important. Most people are thinking about themselves. Their concerns. Their insecurities. Their responsibilities. Just like I am. The embarrassing moments that feel enormous to us often barely register for others. The theory sounds almost too simple. Yet it explains so much anxiety. So much self-consciousness. So much unnecessary suffering. By this point, I had spent months exploring psychological theories that initially sounded strange, unrealistic, or overly academic. But together, they revealed a pattern. Human beings don't experience reality directly. We experience reality through perception. Through assumptions. Through attention. Through mental shortcuts. And those shortcuts aren't signs of weakness. They're part of being human. That realization changed how I viewed other people. The impatient stranger might be kind. The confident person might be struggling. The quiet person might have valuable ideas. The person who disagrees with me might not be irrational. They may simply be seeing different evidence. I started noticing how quickly we create stories about each other. Stories based on brief interactions, facial expressions, first impressions, single moments. Yet every person is carrying circumstances we cannot see, pressures we don't understand, experiences we know nothing about. The more I thought about it, the more empathy began replacing certainty. Not because I became wiser, because I became less confident in my assumptions. And strangely, that felt freeing. I no longer needed immediate explanations for everything. I didn't need to label people so quickly. I didn't need to assume I knew the whole story. Some of the strangest psychological theories ever created taught me something surprisingly practical. Our minds are powerful, but they're not perfect observers. They filter, interpret, predict, assume. And sometimes those assumptions become invisible. The theories themselves are fascinating. But the deeper lesson isn't about psychology. It's about humility. It's about recognizing that our perspective is only one perspective. That our first impression isn't always the truth. That other people often make sense once we understand what we can't immediately see. Now, whenever I catch myself making a quick judgment, I remember that man in the grocery store. The one I thought I understood. The one I silently categorized before he spoke a single word. I remember how wrong I was. And I wonder how many people I've misunderstood without realizing it. Maybe that's why these strange theories continue to matter. Not because they're strange, but because they quietly reveal something hidden inside all of us. The gap between what we think we know, and what's actually true. And if our minds can so easily shape the way we see others, how many of the stories we believe about people are really just stories we've never stopped to question?